Welcome. Welcome everyone back to the season finale of The Future is Female on Blaze Radio, blazeradioonline.com. Myself, Gabrielle Ducharme, joined here as always by my legendary co-host, Nicole Pinter. Nicole, great to be with you today. Our final show of our 5th season together. How you feeling today?
Final show, at least on Blaze Radio.
Yes, I should clarify. At least on Blaze Radio, we're talking about doing stuff. We're talking about doing content creation like during the summer too. Stay tuned on that to our socials. But yes, at least on Blaze Radio this Friday, like right now, this is our final show that'll play on the airwaves for the semester.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, especially, I mean, this whole year has been crazy, that goes without saying, but as we'll talk when we sign off, we made it. We did it, and this show has been one of the few bright spots, I think, at least for me, every week, to not think about school for like 30 minutes.
Anyways, it's been one of the more healthy outlets I think I've had this past year, so I'm happy we can wrap it up at least on the Blaze Radio side, because our radio station just isn't going to be, putting out content like super consistently over the summer. There might be one show or something like that, but it's been a very long year, not only for us but for our radio station as well. And to start off our show, we're actually going to go back and look at some of our top moments from this whole season of The Future is Female. Nicole, what have been some of your favorite moments from our show this season?
The Blaze Spotlight interview. That was awesome, from the Blaze Sports social guys. I personally have always wanted to be interviewed for things. I don't think I'm that interesting, but I still always wanted to be interviewed. I just think it's cool. People want to get to know you. That's a cool thing. So that was awesome. Yeah, Gabby, I think you can agree with that. It was cool that our show got a spotlight.
It was really cool. I think I know I've worked with both of those boys for the last year now. Danny and Zach have killed it this year as on our social media team, and that makes me very, very proud and very happy. For me, it was not only the Blaze social spotlight, that was probably like number one, and very close, like 1.5 was UCLA getting to the Final Four, which was very, very fun. I would be lying if I said I didn't have a lot of fun on that show. I'd be lying if I said it was probably one of our worst shows of the semester, because I was an enthused disaster that whole time. My only focus was to roast Nicole, and it worked phenomenally, but it didn't work very well for flow of a radio show.
Well, like you said, I give you so much about the Lakers, and I have. You earned it. I'll give it to you. It just makes it worse that you're, LA fan, because just it's not you, it's LA. But it's great team. They earned that win. They earned their run. The only downside of that run for you was you lost Johnny Juzang, most likely. That's the only downside of it.
I can't blame him. But I can't blame him as well for capitalizing on that Final Four and that NCAA tournament run to get to the draft. I can't blame a player for that. Nicole, what was one of your other top moments this semester?
Well, this is one we shared, and we can talk about together. The March Madness special we did. If you're wondering where that is, it wasn't on Blaze Radio, but it was actually, we did this for my YouTube channel, but our YouTube channel, technically, because that's where all our shows go. We talked for an hour and 15 about the women's tournament and the men's tournament. We gave our horrendous Final Four picks that never panned out, and it was just a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to talk about brackets for over an hour.
I'm pretty sure I came in last in all of our bracket challenges.
You won a women's one.
Oh, I did. I did. You're right. I'm talking. I mean the men's one. I got murdered in the men's one. Yeah, the women's one was awesome because I picked Stanford to win it all. Go Haley Jones, you're my hero. Keep doing you, girl. That was one of my favorite shows. It was kind of insanity what we were doing, but it was so fun. Oh, it was so fun to see the ridiculousness that was some of our picks. Yeah, I mean, we both had Michigan winning it all. My I was never so happy. I had never been so happy that my bracket was busted because UCLA beat them. You would probably never been more upset. Yeah, definitely one of the top moments. It's also one of my top moments. And Nicole, what's your third top moment from this season?
All right, my third is obviously Blaze Radio winning the best online streaming station for a university with over 10,000 students. I leave out that last part. But it's always cool to see Blaze Radio get recognition and to win best online streaming station. As you said, especially after this year, it feels more earned than it's ever had. And there's a lot of special people. It's not just us at Blaze that make this possible. And that was cool. That was amazing news to learn.
You mentioned it. It was extremely exciting to learn. For me, I'm going to go more so on like the funny side here. One of my other favorite moments that specifically pertain to this show was when you started ranting about the Chicago Bears and the Philadelphia Eagles former quarterback, Carson Wentz. You probably would have keeled over and died if he had become a Chicago Bear. So I was just kind of waiting for that news to drop that he was one. I don't even want to think about. I don't know if our show would have lasted through that, okay, kids? Because I don't know if Nicole would have survived that. That was one of my favorite moments just because it was hysterical, and I had no clue how to react to it. If you go back and watch that clip, it's on my Twitter page, and my face is just like, all right, folks, yes, I'm going to totally ignore that. We're good. And we moved on from there. That was one of my favorite moments, too, just to see how frustrated you got. Not, like, because of your frustration. It was just really funny.
And I got Andy Dalton instead. You know, we're going to talk about it on Season 6. Man, obviously I'm wishing for him to play, like, 2010 Cincinnati Bengals, Andy Dalton. Obviously. But, like, if you ask me to choose between Dalton and Wentz and Foles... Just move on.
We're moving on. We had a lot of fun moments this season. We're going to make a couple more fun memories tonight. And then stay tuned because it's probably not the last time you're going to be hearing from us within, the next couple of months. We're both going to be on summer break soon. So we're going to have more free time to fiddle around with. From the best moments, in the past to looking towards the future, a really big day is coming up soon for a lot of athletes. It's the 2021 NFL Draft. It's a day in history where players can both be defined by it and their lives can be completely transformed by it for generations. It's a team where franchises can possibly go from being, the bottom of the barrel in their conference to being, NFC and AFC contenders pretty much overnight if you play your cards correctly over that 3-day span. Nicole, what are your final thoughts as we lead into the NFL Draft, which is going to be less than a week away by the time this show airs?
Well, my thoughts on obviously Trevor Lawrence is going to the Jags. We'll talk about that in a minute. But Jets fans, my recommendation to you and has always been temper your expectations of Zach Wilson. Listen, I'm not rooting for him to be bad or anything. Like I never like coming out and saying that, oh yeah, this guy's definitely going to be bad, because he's looked good in college. He looked good last season. That goes without saying. But if you think he's better than Sam Darnold right now, who's now a Carolina Panther, I'm sorry, but that's just not. First of all, we haven't seen him play in the NFL, so you can't say that. But I think he's just as good, maybe slightly below Sam Darnold. I don't want to come out and say he's going to be a bust. I hate doing that, but let's put it this way. I don't like Zach Wilson at all. I think wherever he goes, unless you're with Shanahan and the 49ers, as I've said, I think that's the only situation that could work for any of these quarterbacks. Yeah, just temper your expectations. You're probably getting Wilson. I'm not a big fan. I can't explain it. I know I'm bad, but I don't think he's going to be good in the next level. I really don't. I don't think it's going to work out. But, I'll let the Jets fans have their happiness.
I feel like I've been hearing people say Jets fans temper your expectations since the Mark Sanchez butt fumble of 2011. That was 10 years ago now, folks. It's not looking like it's getting any brighter anytime soon. I'm happy that Sam Darnold gets a second chance, with a new franchise, like probably a little bit more stable franchise than being in like the Big Apple. I'm worried about Zach Wilson though. I mean, Nicole, you mentioned him just a little bit ago. Trevor Lawrence. Clearly, the Jaguars are already embracing him and his new wife. He just got married like a week ago, and they bought a bunch of gifts off of his registry for him. And then he donated some money to people in Jacksonville. Nicole, is this like the perfect fit? Like, are they going to the Super Bowl next year? Or do we got to temper expectations again?
Temper expectations again. Not that Lawrence isn't going to be good. As you wrote, he'll fit in just fine with the Jags. Obviously, they're welcoming him with open arms. Wouldn't it be absolutely hilarious if he wasn't drafted first overall and the Jags just major prank everyone? Ugh. But
April Fools!
Yeah, exactly. That won't happen. I think Lawrence, and I think we said this last week or the week before. No, it was last week. That it feels like he's peaked in college. Now his peak in college translating to the peak in NFL translates very well. And I think as long as he stays within the range of some of that, he'll be just fine. But even my biggest worry is if he comes out just like a tiny bit worse, like maybe his mechanics are a tiny bit off because of one coach or another, people will freak out. And he's, as the number 1 overall pick, those are expectations he's got to deal with.
Yeah.
So that's my take on Lawrence.
From one quarterback, though, who's expected to essentially be superstar right out of the gate, to another quarterback whose draft stock has plummeted, and we don't really understand why. Where is Justin Fields going?
I have a hard time answering this one because I go back and forth on what the 49ers are set for, and this is why mock drafts are kind of terrible, even if they're sometimes mostly right, which they never are. Man, I think the 49ers are really starting to take a liking to Fields. I say that with absolutely no insight whatsoever, but if you saw Mac Jones's pro day and you saw Justin Fields and you saw Shanahan in both of those, his reactions to Fields and Jones were quite different. Now, I don't remember if I said this because, it was 10 minutes ago. Looking good at pro days are like the bare minimum, okay?
Right.
You have to that's all you have to do because you're throwing to your receivers, you're with your coaches, you're in your environment. The bare minimum of being a good scout is that you look good at that. Now, that doesn't mean you can't still look impressive like Wilson and Fields did, but that's the absolute bare minimum. And it's more about talking to the coaches, your future coaches and whatever. And I think he'd be a better fit with the 49ers. I think that's where he's going. Gabby, I do want to, since we really have to move on, I want to leave on this spot. The NFL draft is in Cleveland. And I just want to say I've never heard anybody say I'm going to vacation in Cleveland. That's all I want to say. Never heard it. Cleveland really sucks. Major burn right there to end our NFL segment. Sorry, Cleveland. LeBron ain't coming back anytime soon. I still love you.
LeBron ain't coming back anytime soon, unfortunately. He moved out to LA. He moved out to my neck of the woods. Proceeding on from what's happening, with the NFL draft and everything, there's been some rule changes now in NFL football, in part with the numbers, but that's not quite as interesting as, the NFL tabling their 4th and 15 onside kick alternative proposal. Nicole, explain to us what's going on here.
Yeah, so the Eagles, I'll run through this real quick. Eagles proposed a rule for an alternative to the onside kick, which would be converting a 4th and 15 from their own 25-yard line, one untimed down. Ugh. If they failed, the opposing team would then take possession at wherever the play ended. If you'll remember, the short-lived AAF tried a 4th and 12 from the 28-yard line with no onside kick at all. That was your onside kick option. So this is listed as an alternative for now. It would probably move on to try to be permanent. But yeah, Gabby, what do you think of this rule proposal?
It feels risky. I don't know if I understand why they're implementing it. Because onside kicks I feel like they don't really work out very much. I feel that they they're used obviously at the end of games if you are down by, say, a touchdown and you have 12 seconds left and you're like, we need possession of the ball again to win this game. That's when you use an onside kick, obviously. I understand the premise behind it, that it kind of keeps the game moving and it just like picks up the pace of it a little bit more and it causes more excitement, right? Because if you're at a 4th and 15 and you're not going to get the ball by running it or throwing it, it's like, well, what's your third option? Kicking it, obviously. So I think it's interesting. I don't think it's the most groundbreaking rule on planet Earth, though.
Yeah, I mostly agree with you. I think it's more because onside kicks are so rarely converted. That's the biggest reason, is to give it more of a chance. There is a rule this year where there's only 9 guys in the zone instead of 10, just to make it, a little more convertible, maybe. I just don't want us to forget the legend Younghoe Koo, the Falcons kicker, who converted like the most onside kicks last year of anybody, which is like, I think it was 2 or 3, which is obscene because they just rarely get converted. I just don't want us to forget about that legend. And I don't hate this alternative, but traditionalist part of me doesn't want to see onside kicks go for whatever reason. Yeah, it's interesting. I'd like to see it be tried.
I feel like it's interesting. It's just not super groundbreaking. But, of course, moving on from, what's going on the NFL in the field, on the backs of jerseys, there's a tiny bit of a transition there. We're going to touch on this really, really quickly. Certain position players are going to be able to start wearing more jersey numbers now in football. Nicole, is this something noteworthy, or is this just something that's just kind of happening and you're just going to have to accept it?
This is noteworthy to people buying jerseys, because if you had, let's say, a Derrick Henry 22 jersey, he could change it back to 2, which was his college number, which, if I'm being completely honest, I completely forget that they changed their numbers and that the NFL had like this jersey rule when it comes to between watching college football games and NFL games. Yeah. Like, I'm like, oh yeah, college players can wear 0, but NFL players can't. Yeah, okay, that makes sense, whatever. I just haven't thought about it that hard. It'd be weird. It takes some getting used to, but it'd be cool, and it's cool that players can, because I kind of forgot how weird that rule was.
I forgot how strange that rule was too. Maybe it's just because I don't pay attention as much to what numbers they're wearing. I don't know. I feel like I don't pay attention as much to individual athletes in football as I do to, say, a sport like basketball. Like when LeBron James changed his number from 23 to 6, it was this whole thing. When Kobe changed his number from 8 to 24, it was a whole thing in basketball because you can see their face. It's a much more individualized sport. In football, you're all wearing helmets. It's not as individualized. A lot of people have like masks over their helmets now, so you can't even see their eyeballs during games. So I think that kind of takes away from the whole feeling of like numbers and players and noticing it as much. It's probably also because I don't own an NFL jersey from a player, so I just don't pay attention as much. But I think it just kind of speaks to to how individualized some sports are versus others. Moving on from the NFL, though, to the NBA, LeBron James and Anthony Davis are closer to returning. Anthony Davis just got cleared to practice today, and the Lakers are sitting at 5th in the Western Conference, so they're just kind of vibing out right now. The NBA playoffs are set to start just 1 month from tomorrow. They're supposed to start on May 22nd, 2021. We're recording this on Wednesday, April 21st. So just about a month away from, the NBA playoffs beginning. The Utah Jazz are still sitting at the top of the West. I think they're fool's gold. I don't see that team making a super deep run in the postseason. I don't see Rudy Gobert being reliable enough as like a number 2 option to Donovan Mitchell. I trust Spida Mitchell. I trust him to make the big shots. I trust him to make it happen. That kid is a bona fide stud. Do not mess with him. I don't trust the rest of his team to back him up enough. Going into the postseason, though, if we were to start that today, if I were betting right now, I think that it would be Bucks versus Lakers. I don't believe in the Brooklyn Nets. I don't believe in what's going on in Brooklyn. I think they're a regular season team built for the regular season. That's pretty much it. Speaking of regular season players that are simply dominating right now and probably won't be able to prove it in the postseason, Steph Curry. Steph Curry's been on an absolute tear over the last 3 weeks. He put up 10 3-pointers in multiple games. He put up 11 3-pointers and 42 points in another game in only 3 quarters of play, and Steve Kerr pulled him from the game and said, "Nope, you're not going back in, buddy boy." That was pretty funny. Dominance, sheer dominance on the basketball court. Nicole, what are your thoughts with everything that's going on in NBA basketball right now?
Yeah, Steph Curry's really good. As I said last week, we knew this. We know this. Why is he kind of underrated? Because people don't like that he just shoots threes. Lame. Get over yourself.
He's just better at it than everybody else. Get over it.
Exactly. He's just better than you. I'm sorry. It's crazy to just pull up from anywhere and he makes it almost every time. That's crazy. Yeah. As far as I'll start with Utah Jazz. I'm mostly with you on that. I still kind of like them in the Western Conference Final. I want to pick the Suns really badly just because it's a hometown team. That's it. That's the literal only reason. I know what I've said about the Nets in the past, and I'm still with you on this, Gabby, and I still believe what I said. I don't trust the Nets, but I don't trust the Bucks either. I don't trust the rest of the Eastern Conference to really make enough noise to where the Nets are, they won't be challenged, but I agree they're a regular season team that would get killed in the West, and I think because they're in the East, I think they'll make the championship. And then I'm picking the Clippers simply because I refuse to pick the Lakers. Kawhi Leonard, yeah, go Clippers. Oh my God, I almost said it.
I was about to say, are you sure? Are you sure your little back of your mind isn't telling you to root for
them and the Angels and the Chargers, because they should still be in San Diego, are the only LA teams I will put forth some energy to. That's it.
The fact that you have to choose the LA teams you root for because there's so many in so many different sports just speaks to the power. The power of the sports town.
That city barely cares about the Rams, and they went to the Super Bowl 2 years ago, Gabby. That team doesn't deserve, 7 or 8 teams? They barely care about one. They
make a lot of money
every 5 years. Yeah, they make a lot of money.
You make a lot of money having a team in LA, let me tell you. LA cared a lot when these UCLA boys made it to the
Okay. I see you got the shirt. Game. Very nice. Last comments. Put the Chargers back in San Diego. I know it's not NBA, but put them back. That's where they belong.
All of a sudden, it's just an LA slander sesh.
Sorry, everyone hates Stan Kroenke. Okay, bye.
If you want more of this, stay tuned to our YouTube channel, coming this summer. There's probably going to be some content coming. We haven't negotiated or talked yet, but we will be. Transitioning from the NBA to probably a little bit more lighthearted topic, at least for Nicole, the WNBA. Aari McDonald goes number 3 overall to the Atlanta Dream. Nicole, how would you describe how we reacted when that draft pick went through?
The pick on my Twitter from last week, because it was Stephen A. Smith and Chris Broussard, I think. Yeah, I don't think either of us were expecting this. I think we had expected her to go 4 or beyond.
Yeah.
For her to go 3, and we'll talk about it in a minute, but a lot of good players were left after the first round too. It was kind of wild. I'm really happy for her. I think she has a bright future. But man, they left a lot of good players on. Still left.
I mean, it wasn't just the Atlanta Dream, because a lot of people had Aari McDonald going 4. So it wasn't just the Atlanta Dream who left a lot of great players on the table. And if Aari McDonald has anything to say about it, Aari McDonald is saying she's going to prove every single WNBA GM wrong and be the best player in this draft class. It's not even going to be a question. So from Aari McDonald going at 3 to another Pac-12 foe of hers, Michaela Onyenwere, going at 6 to the New York Liberty, the kid from UCLA. My little heart wanted her to become an LA Spark, which the Sparks picked only 1 pick later. So that made me a little bit sad. But at the same time, when I saw how Michaela's grandmother was reacting to her daughter, or to her granddaughter becoming a WNBA player, I started dancing myself. Be lying if I said I wasn't.
She
totally stole the show. And it sounds like that's going to fit her personality very well, being in New York City. Sounds like Grandma's going to have a couple more excuses to go out dancing every once in a while if COVID protocols permit. So go see Michaela play, in like the early afternoon, evening, and then she'll say deuces to the grandkid. I got to go dance at Red Rooster in Harlem and be at the Jazz Club all night. That's a really fun jazz club in New York City, peeps. Y'all should check it out. From the LA kid giving you the New York City plug. Lots of good players left after the first round. Some of these names extremely familiar when it came to March Madness, especially. Nicole, you want to read off some of these names for us?
Yeah, Dana Evans was a big one. No one expected her to be available after the first round, much less like the first 6 picks. Dee Richards, Kiana Williams, who was actually projected to go to the Sky. And can you say this last one for me? I don't want to get it wrong. Unless you're also...
Dejanay Carrington. Dejanay Carrington from Baylor.
Dejanay. Yeah, I would have gotten it wrong, so thank you. Yeah, a lot of good names. And I'm just going to say it. The Sky got a steal with Natasha Mack. What a steal in the second round. I'm so excited for the Sky team. Oh, my goodness.
The Sky are going to be scary. Let me tell you, as someone who's about to work in the WNBA this season, those Sky girls are going to be scary. A lot of those players that were left on the board at the end of the first round made very deep runs in the NCAA tournament. Dee Richards with Baylor, Dejanay Carrington with Baylor, Kiana Williams with Stanford, Dana Evans from, I believe she was from North Carolina State or South Carolina. I should probably know that off the top of my head, but I don't. All of these players, though, they all went to, the Elite Eight, essentially, in their tournament runs. Oh, Dan Evans went to Louisville. Sorry, folks. My bad. But the amount of talent these girls displayed, in the NCAA tournament, I just find it shocking that you don't look at tape like that and realize how they played in the biggest moment, and you don't take that more seriously. Because on the women's side, it's usually not fool's gold if a player rises to the occasion in the tournament. The fact that Kiana Williams dropped to the second round, oh my God. You're gonna be talking about her for a decade and about how every team passed on her at least once. Some teams twice in the second round. So the WNBA draft is all about finding gems, and all of these girls are gonna be diamonds in the rough. Not very long into their WNBA careers. Nicole, what were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I agree with you, and I've said my excitement with the Sky. I think oh my goodness, Dana Evans also has a really bright future. All these girls do, but her and Kiana Williams were the two that I was shocked to see drop to the second round. And I think they'll prove all of them wrong.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that have a lot to prove wrong. Aerie McDonald is where it starts, but it's definitely not where the buck stops for all of these other athletes who have so much to prove wrong. Training camp for the WNBA starts on April 25th, so it actually starts this Monday, I believe. This Sunday. It starts this Sunday. Basically league-wide. Players have been able to start individual workouts this week. I saw Michaela Onyenwere post about it on her Instagram story, that she was already in New York, working out and stuff. Nicole, to wrap up our show with a little bow, you got any final words before we say goodbye to JustBlazeRadioOnline.com for this season?
To Blaze Radio, thank you for those of us who listen. Thanks for those of us who turned us on at 6 Arizona time. And to also people who watched on my YouTube channel, I'll say here too, thank you. We had a listener all season long. We've never had that. We had a video other than our Sarah Spain interview get over 200 views. That's really cool. So thank you for listening wherever you listen to us. It's been a joy. I'm not done ranting about the Bears in Michigan. So it's been a pleasure.
It has definitely been a pleasure. We've adapted to the virtual environment now for an entire 2 seasons and an entire year, but it makes me extremely happy that we were able to adapt and make it work, and I think we produced some of our best shows we've ever produced on this show. For Nicole Pinter, my legendary co-host, I'm Gabby Ducharme. That is a wrap, folks, on Season 5. We will see you all again soon.